Love. All right. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Blessings. Yes, thank you.
Good.
All right. So today I have a special guest with me, Teddy Bass. He's in Los Angeles, California, and he's been following with the class online. He's been following through the YouTube sessions we've had, and he's got the book, and he's been doing the work as well. And we talk about wealth, we talk about abundance, right? So I'm going to share a little crazy story, and then he'll maybe hopefully share his crazy story or his story period, whatever. I don't want to say crazy, but my story is crazy. I'm crazy, you know what I mean? What seems crazy is no longer crazy, or what used to seem crazy or impossible or weird or strange is no longer crazy. So I'll let me just share and you decide. Let me stop putting labels. All right, so we talk about actually goals, right? This week we're talking about goals and the goal chapter on goals. And so one of the goals that came up for me when as I was doing this work, getting into it over a month ago, was to be in tip-top physical health. And I have a trainer that I work out with once or twice a week. I actually had two trainers that I worked out with once or twice a week. One's been coming to my house. Matt, he's on here too as well, or was, or there he's still there. He goes with the puppy. Uh, Matt, been training with me for over a decade, off and on, and but for the last few years it's been on. And another trainer that I would go to a gym with and actually meet since maybe last year sometime, in December. And so I had two, right? And then all of a sudden I got another one, right, to do like Muay Thai, Thai boxing training. So I'm like three, and then I started connecting with Teddy, and Teddy's I'll let him give a little bit of his Bible. Teddy trains a lot of, like, he's been in this industry for a long time, and he's trained a lot of, like, he could throw names out there that everybody on this call would know, famous people, and Los Angeles, California. So what's out there, Hollywood, right? So Teddy's been in this, and I've known him, Teddy, for 2 decades as well. And Teddy's got a real comeback story and following along. And then Teddy was talking about doing Zoom sessions, right? So I was like, I'll take him up on that. He didn't per se like say it to me, but he was just kind of saying like what he was doing to kind of rebuild his life in some areas. And I said, I'll go for it. I'll do four. I got four trainers now. You know what I mean? I'm doing 4 to 5 sessions a week with other people, and one of them is through the Zoom, in Los Angeles. And so following through my goals and just going beyond what I thought would be sane, like four. Some people it's a big step to just do one, right, or the two, and then three, and then have three, and then all of a sudden I'm going to four. So that's a little bit of my abundance thing. But Teddy, how are you today? I'm gonna unmute you, or you can go ahead. Yeah, good.
Uh, you know, After talking to you earlier, I'm doing much better. I had a huge epiphany after, I'm on the second round of the abundance 1 through 10s, and it is kicking my ass because I have such a futuristic, um, got to know what's next. Where's the next dollar coming from? How is everything going to unfold? Who are my clients? And I've identified with all of that over the years. And, I've known you all these years as I was I'll drop two names. I was the original Benifer trainer. And to see all this going on now, and I had my own little mental break in April, and I did some things that were uncharacteristic, got a funny diagnosis, and got medicated, and now I'm fighting some felony charges. So Pankaj and Ajay were very, very supportive when I got out of, I was in jail like at 56. I spent my 56th birthday behind, I can't say bars because I was in a dorm with 106 gay, trans,
Oh, sorry.
whatever you can imagine would be behind a closed door. They were there. And scary fights every day. But I'm now, as he said, I'm rebuilding. And I was always afraid of Zoom, but I don't know, I love talking. So it actually worked out. And he loves the type of workouts we're doing. And so, yeah, I'm just grateful for this class. I'm grateful you guys let me just jump in. I've been doing the recordings just because I couldn't do this whole face on face because of where I was. So, these 4 weeks have really pushed me. And these, I love that I'm sharing with 5 friends, and one of them is my 14-year-old, that I get to share these consciousness of abundance. I call them affirmations, and I'm really grateful that I'm on week 2 and ready for the next 2 weeks so they start to implement. So there you have it.
So appreciate it, Teddy. I'm glad that you've been a blessing to me, and you've helped me go to the next level. I put on put on a shirt yesterday that I usually wear, and it was just too big. It wasn't looking right. I had to take it off and find a shirt from back in the day to put on. So thank you for working with me. Um, so I just wanted to share that kind of thing of abundance and goals, and how things just start populating themselves as a result of having a focus and being aware of a goal. Um, and then things just start happening and showing up, and for me to like really, it was like I got like I said, 3 people I'm working with. All of a sudden I'm picking the fourth one, so 4 out of 5 days a week I'm like working with somebody. Maybe 4 to 5 days out of the 7-day weeks I'm actually working with somebody directly. And never in my years would I imagine like doing something like that. I would think like, yo, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy or something? Like who does that kind of stuff? And now I don't care. Like, it's just it works for me. I'm doing it and I'm able to do it. And I think it's a demonstration of wealth consciousness as well. You know, and So, and then it was really interesting that every time I would meet with Teddy, he'd talk about the class, or he'd ask questions about what went on in the class. So I'm like, oh my God, this guy's following the class, because well, what was this thing that you were talking about? What was AJ talking about? Or who's that such and such person? You know what I mean? So he's like, it was like kind of like, you meet somebody and you get together, and then all of a sudden they're like talking about a TV show or something, like, you know what I mean? It was like, it was interesting. So to see that, and to see that transpire. So really appreciate you, Teddy, and thank you for coming on here. Teddy, in the chat, if you could just put your email and phone number. If anybody wants to take up Teddy on a training through Zoom, he does these great calisthenics. You don't need much equipment, and really want to work the body. And right now, you'd be really supporting him if you want to try some sessions out, or like I said, connect with him. He's going to put his information in the chat. And so part of abundance is giving back, and helping somebody come back, because right now he's in a really precarious situation where he has a house, it's in forbearance, and he has to, because of what happened with his situation, he has to spend every night at a recovery center, and he's building back his life from a really wild situation. So if we can, as the group can support him in any way, his email and phone number are there in the chat. So take note of that. And if you're interested, like I said, try one session with him, see how you like it, and try a couple, whatever. He's there, and right now he's got some time on his hands, which is it's a rare thing. So it's a great opportunity for us to support one of our own, and as well as support ourselves in the journey of health, because wealth is well-being. Wealth is health. There's no wealth without health, right? And there's no wealth without health in the body, right? So, all right. Goals. How many people have, or anybody like to share their experience with coming across doing the goal exercise and asking, like, what are my highest and wisest goals for 5 years from now, or for 1 year from now, and what come up? It's interesting for me because today I did it again prior to the session, my second meditation. When I came home today, I was riding all around and I was exhausted. And I came home and I did that meditation for 10 minutes of just being with the vibration, and a few minutes of like asking the questions and doing the work, maybe, 16, 17 minutes, not even the full 20. And seeing that today the goal has changed from like what I did over a month ago. For what a month ago, like the first goal would come up would be the health piece. And today it was like, no, the first goal for me is to deepen and integrate into my divine self. It's like that deepening, and it just kept on coming. What's my goal from 1 year from now? My highest and wisest goal from 1 year from now. Oh, deepening that connection and integrating with my higher self, with my divine self, with my Christ within, whatever, whatever, like I said, I'm not going to get attached to any names or labels, but to go closer to God. And really what came through is like, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, all these things will be added unto you. When you put that conscious connection first, right? Your conscious contact and the connection with God first, all the other stuff you're looking for will be added onto you. But a lot of times we put the added onto you stuff first on the list, and then we put, oh, my relationship with God or my relationship with the divine. So today was interesting how that came forward. And I think, like I said, it says in the end of the book and the exercise, like, check your goals, come back to this exercise again and see how they modify and change, you know? So that's a little bit of my sharing. I want to hear from you now. All right. I like to pick people, you know that I don't like the silence in this class. I like silence when I'm sitting and meditating, but is that Joanna? You ready?
Yeah. So I did practice the goal exercise, and I was actually having trouble with it. They weren't coming to me easily. Only one came to me, and it was around within the 5 year limit. And what came to me was interviewing speakers, and that's all I got. Like I said, I don't know what the problem was, and maybe I just need to just keep practicing. Um, but I was noticing that. I actually was talking to Deb about it. I was having trouble, not like, because the other stuff, it seemed to come in quickly, and when I was practicing, like, just nothing other than that was the only thing that came.
What was that? What was the one thing that came again? I heard you say it, but I just want to be clear.
Interviewing speakers.
Okay, right. All right. So I appreciate you sharing that, and it brings me back to this quote from the Tao Te Ching that I came across. That I came across again. I come across this quote many times, and every time it always hits me. And I thought that it was such a perfect quote for what we're doing and the work we're doing. Like, do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving until right action arises by itself? And it really goes hand in hand with this whole process of being in a place of clarity and being able to sit and not, because we're so much in the habit, like Teddy talked about futurizing, we're so much in the habit of creating and like, working from our own minds. And everything is that we see for ourselves is can only be based upon what we've already seen in the past. And so it's a limited consciousness. It's a limited idea of when we try to futurize or plan for our future. But the whole thing of being open and receptive to the divine and to the inner guidance, right, is really getting to this place and practicing this place of patienceness, of having the patience to really wait till the mud settles. And you think about the mud in the water when you walk through it and everything's up and then it's just muddy, and then to have the patience to allow things to settle. And when it doesn't come in, because there's like unsettledness, because we ourselves are unsettled. So the more settled we can become, the easier it becomes. And it's not, like I said, this stuff, I'm not saying any of this stuff is easy. It's simple, it's very simple, but it doesn't make it easy. And the only thing that I say is just like, it's the same thing with coming back to the rhythm. It's like the practice. It's the continuity with the practice. Even when it's difficult, even when it's not coming, do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? And can you remain unmoving until that right action arises? Can you be unmoving until that right answer, right? The right goal comes forth. And sometimes even if you get that one goal, like that's sometimes the only thing that we really need to know in the moment. But a lot of times in our minds, we project and say, oh, well, I need to have a whole list of goals because that's what society has trained us to do, to have lists, right? But maybe we just need one focus. At the beginning of the book, it talked about focusing and having a flow in the introduction. And so now we're getting the part of like, what do we have that focus? And that focus is like that system that's operating in the background. When we have a focus of one goal, even, that might be all you really need to be aware of at this moment. And the back might be enough, but the fact that you got that, don't what is it like, minimalize, right?
Mhm.
Your process and where you are with that. So
Mhm.
perfect. Thank you for that. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, did you want to respond to anything I said? Or?
No, I agree with you. I think that I always say that no action is an action, and sometimes that's just what needs to happen. So I can be very patient and wait and let the mud settle. So that completely resonates with me. And
Right.
I had another thought, but it escaped me. So if it comes back, I'll share it. I
And
can't remember.
that 10 minutes of being with the
Oh,
vibration is really allowing that 10 minutes of the mud to settle, there's things to settle down so that
yes.
we're in that space where then we can ask and be clear and then receive more so than just sitting
Mhm.
down and asking.
And the other thing I noticed too is that my rhythm is either it's getting stronger or I'm noticing it even more.
Right.
But I've noticed that.
Wonderful. That's great.
Hmm.
And if you did nothing else but understand that rhythm and use that as a
Hmm.
daily practice, like your life is gonna it's gonna be in a whole different trajectory for sure.
Okay. All good. Thanks.
Thank you, Joanna, for you sharing that.
Mhm.
All right. Who else do we have here today? Let's share with us their goal process. Nobody? Anybody to speak? All right. Well, while somebody's deciding to speak or not speak, the other quote from the that I took note of from the Tao Te Ching is the master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. And again, that comes back to what we're saying about futurizing and always looking for something, always expecting, living in that expectation, but just being present instead and just being welcome to what appears and what arrives. And the really great book is The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. He really talks about his life story. And that was just like an incredible story of him
Hmm.
practicing this right here, of like not seeking fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting, but really just being present and just surrendering, and how life just kept on showing up. Life kept on showing up. He kept on doing his practice. And as he changed, like he grew from like somebody who started with like a construction job, and then just like he bought like a computer when computers from Radio Shack when the Commodores were out, and then he became like he learned programming, and um, and then he just like all of a sudden went from there to being this. He was a guy who living in a van to being like you know, having this huge company, and a software company, and having a private jet and all these things, but the whole process of his life from going from one thing to the other, he never had an expectation of what he wanted. He just was always living in the moment and always doing his practice. As his vibration increased and as the business increased, whatever the business needed, the right people would always show up to support and work in his business. And
I love that book. I am so happy you brought that up. That book is amazing. That story is incredible. And it's so funny because we were just talking about that same book at Awakened Heart last night.
Mhm.
I did a meditation for the group, and afterwards it came up. And because we were talking about how uh, I was saying something where I can't remember who said it. It might have been Deepak Chopra who said, observe the intelligence of nature, how nature is always perfect and unfolding exactly as it should. And I said, it reminds me of that book, The Surrender Experiment. And it's, he, he gives such a beautiful example of how when you trust the process and know that everything is in perfect order, and things would just come to him. He didn't have to go after anything, and
Mm.
he had a life that was beyond his wildest dreams, and gives all that credit to the universe.
And I had a chance to ask him about that in person, less than 2 years ago. Sean was with me when we were there. Rob was with me. We went on a little retreat to his Temple of the Universe in Florida, and he's just like totally like I'm like, did you like set any intentions and stuff? He's like, no. And but what he doesn't really, I think he doesn't really give credit to this, but I think it's really the fact that he was also doing the practice, that he did that meditation and he just started doing this meditation. And the primary focus of his meditation was like not listening to his mind, right?
Mhm.
Like not believing what his mind told him. Whatever his mind told him, he wouldn't just believe it. And the fact of
Mhm.
like surrendering and just letting, and he realized that he had this voice in his head that would just keep on talking, but he didn't have to believe it and he didn't have to listen to it. And it was funny because he came back from Mexico or somewhere. He went on this trip and he came back, and this lady, he had got this land finally. This lady who was camping out on his land, he came back and they're building a house on his property. And his one friend is helping her build this like little cabin on Michael Singer's property. And he was upset and he's infuriated. He walks back to his cabin. He grabs his hammer because he was in construction at the time, and he starts helping them build this house. He surrendered to it rather than fight and tell her to get off his land, which is any normal human being would have done. He helped her build that cabin. And then later, that area became like a whole community of people of like mind, and became like a whole community of people living together in the same area, in this whole same vibration. But that was one of the greatest examples that he gave, that I received, like where he comes back and this lady's like building it's like,
Mhm.
can't let, like, it's not to say you let people walk over you or anything like that, but he just surrendered to it.
Yeah,
And and
that
then
was a
from
good
there he started like a
example.
construction company. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I remember that part. And she said I remember her saying to him, I want no rights to this house. And he resisted at first, but then he helped, like you said. And then sure enough, later on, it served a purpose for the greater picture of like what was happening to his life. I loved how he gave so many examples of how he shared his resistance, but he followed through, and then how that whole situation or scenario helped him and the greater good. It was great examples of that. Yeah.
Even at the end, the FBI came and raided his company for something he didn't even do.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Oh, this is a great time. I always wanted to write this book. Now I got a chance to write the book." And he wrote The Untethered Soul, and he wrote this Surrender Experiment. During that time, had the FBI came and not raided his company and the whole that thing didn't switch, you know, he wouldn't have wrote the
Mhm.
book probably, or had the chance to write the book because he was still running the company. And then, therefore, the master acts without doing and teaches without saying anything. Things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. And that's also like our thoughts. I mean, our thoughts arise and they go, and they rise and they go. And the master just sees them, right, without the attachment to them, and start without the resistance to them, and just let them arise and go because they're all fleeting in the moment. She has but doesn't possess, acts but doesn't expect. When her work is done, she forgets it. That's why it lasts forever. So I don't know. To me, the Tao Te Ching and this type of Lao Tzu's work, was always like very, very just deep, mystical type of thing. And then when I read it, it's for me, it's like drinking water. It may not be for everybody, but this is a card that I got a long time ago, also, and I never really followed through. And it's kind of been like a bookmarker in one of the books in my office. And then the other day when it's actually a bookmarker in the Tao Te Ching book that I have in my office. And I was like, oh, look, yoga and exercise are essential to your well-being, peace of mind, and spiritual growth right now. So it's not like I just all of a sudden today did the message, right? The goals message, and I mean, started doing the meditation. This has been in my book for I don't know so how long. So it's like the universe has been giving me that message a long time ago. Now I'm finally at a point where I'm really like following through fully on it, more so than ever. Um, so it's wild how the universe works. All right. Who else has worked with the goal exercise? Yes, Debbie.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about the whole process that we've been going through.
That's
Sorry.
good.
And yeah, so I guess we just sort of went into the next segment, I guess, of the learning, but I really hadn't fully finished the first part, and it tells you loud and clear, don't go on, right? So I'm like, okay. So there was one part I was stuck on, basically like this mass consciousness or whatever. I hadn't really done it properly. But once I actually fully did it, which I'm not that thorough, right? Until now, I haven't been so thorough in things. I felt really great that I actually accomplished what I was supposed to do. So that gave me some confidence. And then I really just feel like what it has helped me do is to actually listen and get in the flow, basically. So when I'm doing these goals now, And I'm using my beautiful planner that my best bud Lynn gave me, which is so fun because I don't usually use a journal, but that's also shifted for me, that I'm really now using this journal well, very nicely. And so basically I'm jotting down what I'm coming up with, and I don't actually, I listen from a different place. Like when I say these goals, when I listen and hear the goals coming through, it's like a God thought. It really is. It's like a shared God thought. It's not necessarily coming from my brain. It's coming from a different place. So I jot it down, and I probably have like 2 or 3 every time I try and do the exercise. And then like that last little slide said, I don't think about it again. It's like, it's creating a shift within me. So I'm not, driving around in my car going, okay, my goals are to get in shape, or to, to be more highly connected to the divine, whatever. I know it's in there. I don't even have to keep it in my brain. So I'm really enjoying the process. And also what I find myself doing is, I'm also, after I'm done that section, I'll say, okay, is there a fear that's come up for me? And so I do a little ceremony, a burn ceremony at my altar. I have a great little burning thing, and I have the paper and everything, and my candle. And so if I feel like there's a fear thought or something, I'm like, okay, what is it? And write it down, and I check, is that what it is? Yep. And I burn it just once. So it's a beautiful practice, and I really appreciate it. I'm having fun with it. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you sharing that, especially the fact that you really like stuck through and worked through these things. And the whole thing is, I look at the preparation stage, right, that we're doing with the clearing the limiting beliefs and the fear associations, right, as a weeding process. When you start to plant anything, a garden, some vegetables, whatever, you got to first go in there and prepare the land. You got to weed out. You got to get rid of the weeds,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can plant the seeds. And the goals is like planting the seeds and the intentions. But first, we've done the weeding process. But are you ever done the weeding process? You go in there, you prep it, right? But then you always got to come back and weed.
For sure.
So, and then like I said, with the abundance work and the statements and the affirmations, like, there's two ways to weed. One is to get the weed and pull it out. The other way is to focus on the truth, and to let the power of the truth pull out the weeds for you too. The Father within does the work.
Yeah, that's what I find.
So, all right. So Tanisha, Tamika, we haven't really heard from you at all. If you, would you mind, you don't have to put your cameras on, but would you want to share anything? It doesn't have to even be about the gold thing, but we just like to hear your voice, call you out a little bit. Tanisha, Tamika, both of them unmuted. Okay, who wants to go first?
I'll let Tamika go first.
Okay, thank you, Tanisha.
Push her
Hello,
out there.
everyone.
Push her out there. Hey, Tamika, what's going on?
For me, I was fearful of doing the goals portion of this process because it's not something that I've ever focused on. So I was a little nervous about that, but I have completed the process twice, this morning and just before class. The second time, I would say that I got very emotional at the end, and I'm not quite sure why, because while things come through, I guess I can't differentiate them well enough to write it down. So I may have to write with my eyes closed or something, come up with a different process. And then with the abundance book, because I'm also doing that as well, those affirmations, my brain or statements of principles, I'm having a hard time with because my brain absolutely rejects them, but I'm still going through the process with that as well, working on this.
And I just wanted to let you know that that's completely natural to to read this. Like I said, when I came across this stuff over 20 years ago and I'd read these statements, it was like Chinese or something, some other language. It made little to no sense. And it really bounced off of me too. And even to this day, sometimes, the interesting thing is I was having a conversation with Jerome earlier this week, and Jerome's he's been working with those principles or statements for over 2 years now, every day pretty much. He hasn't really missed a day or missed maybe one day or something. And now with combining the 10 minutes of being with the rhythm and then going to the statement, I feel sometimes like the statement is just like it always gives me a fresh message. Like I never see it the same way. And Jerome, you want to share what happened to you too as well?
It's like, for me, it's like I've never read it before most of the time. Well, every time that I've done it since combining it with the meditation, it's like I've never seen this before. And the first time I read it, I was like, this must be new, right? Like I must have copied something new on, or, but it's absolutely the same thing. So it's just a fresh experience, new eyes, and it's good to for me to be there because a lot of people will say, how can you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again? And for me, I get a new experience, so it's not like I'm doing that.
Yeah. And I feel like even though I've been doing this for a long time and I'm on day 25 now of doing it, this cycle, I feel like every time I do it, I'm just like taking my fingernail across and just scratching the surface of it. Like I haven't even feel like I've really put my hand into it yet. I feel like I'm still just scraping something. And but even that little bit that I'm scraping each day when I do it, I'm scraping gold dust. Like I'm scraping some real gold dust, you know?
Yes, they're
Um,
very profound statements. It's just, and I guess that's what hits me after I repeat it the third time. I go, wow, that's quite profound. It's like, so
but yeah, and it's that little bit that starts little bit little. It's like the Chinese water torture, right? They would take somebody and put him in the chair and tie him down and just drop a drop of water on his head. But they would consistently do it. And then eventually it gets to the point where that one drop of water is like somebody hitting you over the head with a hammer. It's a very, I'm sorry to, graphic, but it's like the water is like so soft and so nimble, but like water can cut through anything, you know? And it's just like this whole process is something that you would think is is minimal or nothing, like, but the daily little bit of that little drop or that little scrape or whatever you get, don't minimize it because that little drop starts to turn into an ocean sooner or later. And that's why consistency is the key for the 40 days. If you miss a day, you start all over.
yes, I have been consistent so far.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Tamika, for good to hear you.
Good to hear you too.
Now we got Tanisha coming up.
So I have not been as consistent as Tamika, but not on purpose. Life has happened, so I've restarted multiple times. Um,
That's
but
okay.
I am excited that I found my money rhythm, and I'm excited that for me there was like a burning desire to know the principles before I did the practice, and I don't know why, but I really wanted to know and almost memorize them, and I was kind of working on that. Um, I feel like I've had a lot of progress with the goals, and it feels almost a little weird. Like I've gotten in business, I've gotten the largest quote that I've ever, the call just came out of the blue, and I got that. Um, I actually did that today. So it just feels like everything is coming full circle and pretty fast. And I don't know, I don't know if I can attribute it all to wealth consciousness or if it's coincidence or, if I'm also doing coaching work as well. So I don't know if everything is like happening like this because of the work I'm doing or not, but it feels like what I'm doing is actually paying off and fast. So I don't know. I remember Jerome saying in one of the previous calls that um there was such a difference, or something to this effect, that there was such a difference so fast that he didn't want to not do it, or he tested not doing it, something like that. And I'm kind of feeling like that's happened to me. So I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. What I am enjoying most is, even though I have not gotten to day 10 yet because I keep starting over, I'm enjoying like the peace that's coming with the meditation, and the peace
Mhm.
that's coming with the practice. I am slower to react. Like I can get very emotional and kind of be like all over the place if other things around me are happening. And I'm finding myself more peaceful, and just like not like reacting like a firecracker when something happens. Not, oh, this employee called out of work, oh, I'm gonna be destitute. Calm myself, find a solution and solve it. Like those type of things are happening all around me. My
Yeah.
mother called at the last minute today and told me she couldn't get my kids, and normally that would like throw me like over the edge. Right, I was in the middle of going to a real big walkthrough, but that would throw me over the edge, and it didn't. And it was like, no, I'm telling her, calm down, I'll figure something out. So I don't know, I just feel like more of that is happening now that I'm meditating every day.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad I called both of you. You two have put the biggest smile on my face. And yeah, just just to find the money rhythm and to be with it. Like I said, I'll go back to I won't get tired of beating that dead horse. Just get into that rhythm and being with it and practicing that on a consistent basis is is it. It's the end all be all, so to speak. And anything you add on to that is just icing on the cake, and as you just continue to just be with this frequency, like your whole frequency, everything, your vibrations continues to lift, and as your consciousness, your vibration lifts, everything changes. Nothing can stay the same. If you change, everything changes, and it's got to change. Has to come from within, and just by bringing that frequency to the surface and tuning into that frequency, what we focus upon expands. Where the attention goes, the energy flows. And what also happens is, like, and I come back to this again, it's not always you know, unicorns and roses, like there's stuff going to come up, you're going to feel some feelings that are uncomfortable. And so Sean, you're next on the plate, because we've been talking a little bit, and when you do the meditation, you get these joyful feelings and the good feelings too, but then other stuff also happens as well. So that'll help, I think, a lot of people understand this other aspects of what happens as a part of tuning in. So thank you to both Tanisha and Tamika.
Yeah, Pankaj, thank you. So yeah, I mean, for my experience, when I meditate daily, initially it's exciting, right? Like tuning into your money rhythm for the first time, it feels good. You're feeling a flow in your heart. Like for me, I mean, I'm feeling it right now. I just kind of this like, that's why I kind of like close my eyes sometimes, like on the call, because I'm just like, I'm present and I'm conscious that I'm kind of floating a little bit while I'm just sitting here, and it's a really nice feeling. But I mean, I will be completely honest, and I'm sure other people have felt this, like there is some pain and some darkness and some anxiety and some just lower vibrations that just come up. And for me, it just kind of sits right here, and it's a very tight, uncomfortable feeling. I mean, I even went to the doctor thinking I was having a freaking heart attack, right? So like, I'm fine, by the way. My EKG came out clear, so we're good. Um, but I really kind of sat down and meditated and just kind of like realized, like, what is this coming up? And I think a lot of it is past traumas, this life, last life, karmic things, past things that I've maybe done in this lifetime that, or situations or events that I've been down on myself about. But Michael Singer, if you want to go back to him, he always talks about, he calls it a samskara, which means a scar in your heart, in your universal heart. And he's like, if you put something down in your heart with pain, it's going to have to release and come out with pain, right? So although it's a very uncomfortable and sometimes unsettling feeling, when I sit and meditate, like now I feel really good. I'm actually very grateful for it because it's allowing me, it's helping these samskaras or these pain or this, previous trauma that I have, buried in myself. And we all suppress things, right, as humans. Um, and I'm very grateful that I'm going through this experience, because I know that from this comes, exponential growth from where I'm at. So, yeah, that's a little bit what's happening with me. But I've been enjoying the meditation. I've been doing the abundance book, and I'm just really, what called to me in terms of a goal is just to continue this path, continue working out, continue meditating, just continue this path. And that's really the only advice from my inner self that I got. Just keep going, and you'll be fine.
Right. Wonderful. And like I said, I shared even from day one, like that at some point, certain pain will make itself, you will acutely become aware of, pain, suppression, emotion, all that kind of stuff. Because if not, it just shows like, it's coming up so that it can go out. And what happens a lot of times is we will divide ourselves, we'll fragment ourselves, because we want this, but we don't want that, right? This whole attitude of, I want this, I don't want that, right? It's aversion and attraction, pushing and pulling. So that fragments us. So to be in a place of like just allowing, right? Letting it flow, letting it be. The more I resist it, I don't want it, the more I push it away. What do? I'm suppressing it again. Well, a lot of times we have undigested experiences in life. We shut things down, we shut away, pushed away emotions, like Sean was saying. We suppress stuff, we pushed it down. And it's like being in a swimming pool and you have a ball of water, you have a ball and you're pushing it and holding it underwater. Eventually the energy of that ball wants to come up. We're holding it down. We're exerting all this energy to keep it there. It wants to come up and out. But if we allow ourselves to step back and allow, like, it'll pop up it's on its own energy. And so as we're getting in this place of the zone or the gap or whatever you want to call it, when you're letting your muddle, you're taking your time to let the mud settle. Also allow these, whatever it is, the surface. The key is to be aware of the rhythm, the feeling sensation of the presence, the divine within, and whatever else is happening, simultaneously, and just favor the rhythm, if that makes any sense. And that's a skill, and that's going to come with time. But like I said, the more the resistance comes in, whatever you resist will persist. Whatever you don't want, you become almost attracted to. You know what I mean? You lock it in. And then there's this inner struggle of fight. And, you don't really want this, but I can't really let it go either. It's like, I don't want it, but I just can't seem to let go. And sometimes like I got to the point where I just had to pray and ask for help in letting go, because I of myself did not have the power to let go. And that's okay too. To allow yourself to ask for help in letting go. My God, help me let go of this. Like, I don't even know what it is. I don't care what it is even at this point. Like, I need this. I need some help here. I need some help because I'm struggling with this. I've been dealing with this for whatever. And yet, look, there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of people come from the science of mind tradition. They can't even do that. It like limits them to do that because of the understanding of what the indoctrination, what's happened, and no, you're not God. God is God. You are a part of God. You are you can be one with God. But the ego will say, oh, I am God. No, you're not. You're a co-creative force. You're a co-creator with the creator, but you're not. That's why Jesus even said, I of myself can do nothing, right? And get to that point of understanding the flow, of allowing. The mystic is not. The metaphysician thinks they are in charge, they're in control, and then they get all screwed up because they realize they're not in control. They can't control nothing. You can't control your heartbeat. You can't control your digestion. You're just you. But there's other aspects of you. The you. We don't want to get into too much philosophy, but to be able to open yourself to and ask for help is really the key. And a lot of people from certain traditions, then they can't even do that. Science of mind being one of those traditions. All right.
I have an experience I can share.
Yes, Denise.
Well, last week, or a week and a half ago, my car, I started my car in the morning and it wouldn't turn on. I got I took it to the dealership and I waited for them to tell me how much. And it actually came to like 1050. And I didn't expect that. I was hoping it would be maybe in like $700, but not $1,050. So then I called my sister and I was really bummed. I don't know why, but it's a big number, but I was really upset about that. And I was really in the minute, like depressed about it. And after I talked to my sister, I was like, wait a minute. It's just an incident. I can't let it control me. I can't let it depress me either. And I can't think of it like, you know, how when you hold sand in your hand and the tighter you hold on to the sand, the more sand comes out of between your fingers. So that's how I felt like I was thinking about this situation. So I tried to do something, try to think about it in a positive way. But let me get back. Before I think about the positive, I thought about my mom, who, when we were little, we had an oil tank. She was always worried about getting $100 every month during the cold season. And that was always such a problem to get $100 to fill up the oil tank. So it just made me think about that, and it just made me fear money, basically, and fear that I'm never going to be able to take care of myself, and just all these wild fears that came across my mind. But then I thought, you know what, Denise, you are providing job security to the technicians who are working on your car. Because at one point, I know a lot of dealerships they may have had like one technician on hand to do any repairs. So I was thinking about that. And then I thought about, you know, you're going to have a better car. You're going to be safe. You have peace of mind. So don't let this amount or this experience control me, or really get a hold of me. So so that was my experience. So after talking to myself about that, then it reminded me about fear, and then what we think about money, and
Right.
money is it comes and goes, and this is your one chance to have some money, and there it goes in the car. But it also, right now, it provides security for me, for technicians, for the dealership, for my cats if I have to take them to the vet. So I just have to look at it that way. So that was my experience last week.
You reminded me of something like, you know, it was in one part of my life where I had a pattern where every time I came into some excess money, some type of situation would happen where I'd have to spend that money. Like I would get, and it usually would be with a car and car problems. I'm not saying that this is you, but I'm just saying in my own stories. And then one time in my life, like I was doing an inventory process, like, you know, like they do kind of like in the 12 steps programs. I was doing an inventory, and in the inventory it was revealed to me, and I would just pray and get quiet, and I would write down stuff, and and a lot of this stuff that we're like we're doing clearing work now, like a lot of stuff would come to the surface. And one thing that came to me is like, my father was a workaholic. He was always working. So at a young age, I made an association of money took my father from me because he was always working. So he didn't really spend time, you know, and do the thing like, you know, go to basketball games and all that kind of stuff. So somewhere along the line, so like whenever I would come into extra money, I wouldn't be able to hold on to it because of this association that money took my father from me. And so bring that up to the surface and looking at it, you know, and just it created a shift in me. So like you're also like that one incident, you know, is making you aware of different fears and associations in childhood and stuff like that, of lack and limitation, and to look at these beliefs, right? And I said something about science of mind. I just want to clarify too. Like Ernest Holmes, I agree 100% with everything that he taught and everything that he wrote. It's just that the way people interpret his teachings, you know, and they make a religion out of it, and the way they take it to a different level of, and the ego takes over, and they're operating, you know, from their ego of thinking that they're God or something like that, and that's their downfall usually, you know. So I just want to clarify about that. So, but the teaching itself is very great about like coming in contact with with God within you, and understanding the power of your beliefs and how these affect our experience of reality. Not experience of reality, but experience of life, right? We don't get the experience of reality, but we get to experience our beliefs about reality. And if we change our beliefs, we change everything. Yeah, we change everything because our beliefs, because everything is flowing through our beliefs, and those are manifesting, and we get to experience them all around. And one of the things that he taught is change your mind, change your thinking, change your life, right? Look at what's happening, look at what's showing up in your life. And if you don't like it, you got to go inside and see what the program is and change the program, and you'll get a different experience on the outside. But the real work is within you, you know? The real work is understanding nobody wants to take a look at under the hood. Everybody like just looks the outside. The car looks good on the outside, is good, right? But nobody wants to take a look under the hood. And this work, right, is really about going under the hood and seeing what's under the hood here, because that's really affecting what the way the car looks on the outside. Hey, you know, that's nice and all, but what's under the hood is how the car is going to operate. You know, so I was just writing about that the other day. You know, I don't know, a thought, that saying came to me, like nobody wants to look under the hood. And it's really goes, and it really what that meant is about, you know, looking under our hood, our belief system, the ideas, and a lot of them we've gotten from childhood, and our associations with our parents, and associations, our relationship with money. And we got to start, and that's why that money exercise was so good. I would recommend for you to do that money exercise when you hold the money in your hands, and just let the energy of it like come into your aura, and just into your field, and welcome it, and recalibrate your energy and relationship with the energy of money. And so, because I had to do that, you know, all these years I did a lot of work with this whole prosperity and abundance and mindset, because I wanted to be free in so many different ways. And the other thing is like looking at the fact that, you know what, you didn't want to give that money, but like you have that money to give, that you're able to give it. And the other thing is like, you know, and then like, so life comes and we get to experience stretching beyond, you know, giving in areas that are uncomfortable, and to get to a point where it's comfortable to give and not have to think about it, and to be able to give, and knowing that, oh, the money's not my supply. My connection to this within me is my supply.
Right.
And that doesn't change. And so like I can constantly give from the overflow of this supply. Not to say you know, get yourself in debt or anything, but you're giving with a different attitude. You're not giving from a place of I don't have more. If I give this, I don't want to have, but I'm giving this and more is coming, and constantly giving and constantly more is coming, and it's constantly flowing. That there's an infinite supply.
Yeah.
Right? There's an abundance. I have more to spare and more to share.
I found myself resisting for a little bit too, when I was in that depression mode. And I was like, and I noticed that once I started changing into a positive mentality about the whole thing, then I felt at peace. Then I felt lighter again.
Right. Yeah. And then the more, like I said, the universe abhors, one of the things that Ernest used to love to say, the universe abhors a vacuum. So when you give, that vacuum will be filled up again. You know? And you also reminded me of something else I wanted to bring up today, about the law of giving. You know, I studied one time pranic healing, Master Cho, one great teacher, and a Filipino Chinese teacher, and he's, you know, founded pranic healing, and it was just something that spread out in many countries all around the world. And I had a chance to go to some of his seminars back in the day when he was alive, and he would do this exercise. And in pranic healing, we could measure people's auras and energy fields. You know, we were taught how to do that. And he would get up, stand up in the room and say, think about giving, you know, we'd all measure the aura, basically the size of the energy field. We could like tap in and we can measure it. And he would ask that person, now think about giving something to such and such. And then we'd measure the aura again, and the mirror was like, whoop, it would get bigger. Now think about giving, and they would actually give an experience of like somebody tithing or giving money to a cause, right? And how their energy field would expand by giving. And that was like a wow, that was like a real wow thing of like the power of giving, that when you give, your energy field and your aura expands.
Mhm.
And the old saying is that the channel you give from is the same channel you receive from. So when we block our giving, when you give to yourself. There's only one here. And so, and you're not giving, you're only blocking that givingness from yourself. You're blocking your own ability to receive by not giving. And same terms like in love and in a relationship. By not giving, I'm blocking my receiving. The same channel that we give through is the same channel we receive from. And if that channel is, if we're not giving, then that channel closes.
Yeah, and I think it helped to think about the job security for the technicians, and I think that just helped in general, and just put a positive spin on it. I think that's kind of like in a way it recycled the money recycled.
Yeah. And look at any economy. When people stop spending, what happens to the economy? It goes down. You know? So who else we got here? Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you.
Oh my God, we actually reaching our time. So the finale always Ms. Garcia, we missed you last week. Glad to see you here. You got anything for us? A little update before we go?
Well, I do apologize. I wasn't available, but I did do the meditation. I was going through some ups and downs. My mom had surgery and it was a little bit overwhelming, but the meditation has helped a lot, just to be calm and to connect with my money rhythm, and it's just in tune. So I just been practicing, and I'm still working on those goal setting meditation. It hasn't been easy lately, but I'm working on it.
Okay. And somebody, I think it was Tanisha, when she was talking about like her and you just reminded me of it, her not reacting as much, like that's emotional stability. That's like your emotional IQ is increasing, and that's a real byproduct of the practice of being more emotionally stable and raising our emotional IQ. Say your first name for me. I know you told me on a piece of paper one day, but I didn't. I just want to hear it. Maybe lock it in for me. Just I don't want to mispronounce it.
My name?
Yes, your first name.
It's Dolly.
Dolly. Okay. All right. Dolly. All right. Now it'll hopefully stick in my head. So that's why I always say Miss Garcia, because I don't mispronounce it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's better than Dale. I get Dale a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I like to say it right because I've been called Panjock, Pancock, and all kinds of stuff, and I'm used to it.
That's terrible.
All right. In our finale, I got to hear from my brother AJ. I got to hear from him. What's going on with this guy? Let's call him out.
I thought I was trying to get away from today, but it's okay because last week I shared about like me hitting a wall with the mass conscious belief. So I want to talk about my experience with that. So what I did was, first of all, the class was very inspirational and kind of gave me the energy and the juice to basically pick myself up, and continue on to the path. So then I got right back into the meditation, to the rhythm. And then, now I'm working with what James said, it's about, if you don't like the word acceptance, then move to a place of acknowledge it. So I acknowledged it, picked up, moved on, and now I'm working with the fear beliefs, and that's where I'm at right now. I haven't gotten to the goals. So, I was reminded of this one thing, and like everything that we talked about today kind of, was all a part of the whole process with the mudded water, that needed to be cleared away. And then I have the patience to be here and stay on the path of it. So that really made a lot of sense with it as well too. And then always that one saying always sticks with me when I always get myself in the way, and you talked about it today too, is the way in is the way out. So it's like, what? Okay, I had stepped away from my, remember I was saying I was very inconsistent, and I said, okay, what do I got to do? I got to become more consistent. And that's exactly what I did in the process. So, and I love the analogy too, man, about looking underneath the hood also as well too. The way you tied that in, that was really, really good because it makes a lot of sense. It brings everything together. Because money is like, if we're not circulating it, then we're stuck, and it's going backwards. So the way the whole idea of, looking underneath the hood and, seeing the, what's going on inside of us is, that was a good analogy part of it. So, I'm in a better space, better place, and working with the fear now, the fear beliefs.
Thank you. And that reminds me, like when I hit my block or whatever last week, when I talked about the whole voice came from the wounded child and talked about the failure and all this stuff. When I embraced that, I had such a freaking healing, and I'm back on fire again. Like, so like when you come and that dip comes or whatever, that suppression comes up, and you just kind of like embrace that child. Like I just like embrace that little child, and I listen to it and let it vent and get all its anger and feel the anger and the energy that it had. Oh my God, it was immense. But to really embrace it, right? And really allow that thing into my arms and be like, just like, I'm just going to love you unconditionally. I'm just going to listen to you. Like, because sometimes the biggest unconditional loving thing you can do for somebody is just to give them your time and attention and just listen. Because that's when I asked, like, what can I do? And it was just listen, and just to listen and to hear him. And he lightened up. And he's like, and then I could have like a different type of dialogue, because from the outer sparks of my life, I feel like, I feel like I'm very successful, but then to have a part of myself, a sub-personality or inner child, whatever you want to call it, to feel that way and to really, and again, to be able to, from that lead, real alchemy is taking lead and turning it into gold, right? And to take that darkness or take that emotional trauma or whatever that is, right? And to turn it into gold. Right. And to pull the gold out of it and to see that like the areas in my life where I was inconsistent is what I really needed to look at. And then how much I've cheated myself from being inconsistent and not keeping with a commitment, but to stick with it, like, okay, I've done this for 40 days. Now what? Now I can just go back to like resting now on my laurels because I did it, but now what if I continue? What if I continue to practice? Right. Well, so always expanding ourselves to go deeper and to continue. Yes, go ahead, Leo.
I know we're almost wrapped up, but I just wanted to share this real quickly. So, a lot of synchronicities have definitely been coming up with the goal setting this week. And then I don't know if anybody's familiar with Bob Proctor, but he is having something that is happening this week. It's the 5 steps to achieving mega goals. And I would highly encourage to go check it out. It's like an hour talk every day. It's been pretty phenomenal. And I have my first release as Leo Lightwork, my music project coming out October 1st. And we just did like a roundtable interview. And the last question was, what are your goals? So goals are just popping, like, yeah. So everything's like, right on time right here, right now. So just wanted to share that. And yeah. Appreciate everybody here and looking forward to continuing this journey with everybody. Thanks.
Thank you all. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much. Okay.
Real quick, we only have 2 more classes left, right?
Yeah. So that's what I was, the next thing I was going to say. We have 2 more classes. Next week, we're going to go over the next 2 chapters, Managing the Flow. And what's the other one's name? I just saw it. Managing the Flow. Oh, Plan of Action and Managing the Flow. So we'll touch on those 2 next week and just continue. If you do nothing, just do them, at least be with the rhythm, stay in that rhythm, stay in that meditation practice. And that's the minimum I ask of everybody, but don't settle for just the minimum either. Go further. Right, Debbie? Right. All right. Well, appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. And yeah, I got a lot to share, but I'm going to end it though. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pinkash.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't forget Teddy. Get Teddy's information in the chat. I'm gonna leave it open for a little bit so people can write that down or copy it. Give my man a try. I tell you, his workouts are amazing. He works out parts of my body I didn't even know I had. Muscles I didn't even know I had. And Matt's good too, but Matt's right here in the flesh, fresh in the flesh. I saw him this morning. Thank you, Matt.
That was Wednesday, man. Our time's flying by.
Wednesday? It's Thursday today. Oh my God, I can't.
That was good, man.
I missed my session this morning because I had Jason showing up to do something. So I was like, oh, I missed. But now I'm gonna go do something. So every day, a little something. All right. So everybody got Teddy. Let me stop the recording.